Oh.
Yeah, but there's no quick way to get there.
Exactly. Okay, so I guess Jason must have started the recording, but we're not all here yet. I think he did it because he knew he was going to be a little late. Because, but we're not all here. We're missing Bill. We're missing Amy. What else are we missing? Noreen is here.
David.
There's Rebecca.
Dave King.
He's not going to be here tonight.
He's
He
not.
sent a quick email that he had a conflict arise.
Got it.
So the first thing, obviously, when we call to order after time and place and stuff, I'll need one of you to make a motion to put Noreen in as a voting member tonight. But we will wait for Amy and we will wait for Bill. We don't have to wait for Jason. So once Amy and Bill gets here, that was good English, get here, we'll get started. Oh, there's Amy. Oh, and Bill, both trying to get in at the same time. There you go.
There we are.
It's nothing, man.
Hey, Bill.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Oh, no, she was there and she's gone. Oh, no, there she is.
I got the funniest message. It said, this meeting is being recorded. Do you want to leave?
Well, I think Jason started the recording because he knew he was going to be late. That's my assumption. So I guess I think we're all good, right? Yeah. So actually, I will call this meeting of June 16th Board of Finance meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. And it obviously, again, is via Zoom, although it looks like next month, guys, we get to do in person. Woohoo! Finally. So on to number 3, which is attendance and appointment of alternates. So if one of us could please make a motion to put Noreen as a voting member tonight, since Dave will not be with us, I would greatly appreciate it.
This is Bill. I'll move that we put Noreen in for Dave King as a voting member.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Talamini. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, I can't wait till I don't have to do this anymore. All those in favor, Karen Christensen?
Yes.
Dave, Tom Lansner?
Yes.
Bill Syme?
Yes.
Tom Talamini?
Yes.
Hello, Noreen. Welcome to voting. All right, now I need an approval of the agenda, or if anybody needs to change anything. If not, a motion.
So Bill, I'll move we approve the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you, Bill. Is there a second?
Karen Christensen, I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, Karen?
Yes.
Tom Lansner?
Yes.
Bill Syme?
Yes.
Tom Talamini?
Yes.
And Noreen?
Yes.
All right, great. On to approving the minutes of our regular meeting, May 19th, of which I was not here. If I could have a motion.
Tom T, I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 19th as presented.
Is there a second?
I think there's a problem on number 4. Number 4. I think she means to put Noreen's name in there and not mine.
Which number? 4?
At the bottom of the first page.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Well, that was easy. All right. So with the correction, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion? All those in favor? Karen,
Yes,
Tom L,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes,
Tom T,
yes,
and Noreen.
Yes.
All right, clearly passes. Public participation. I don't think we have, hi, Sarah, that's our public today. All right, so on to communication. So, all right, I'm gonna let Amy do some of this. I'm gonna do some of this. You guys, as far as communication, there is an email that I got from Jack Minette. It was a quick one and it had a Facebook link on it. And he asked me to share it with you guys. I will share it with you guys, but I just saw it tonight. And I'm just gonna make sure for Mr. Sauerhofer, because I get really leery sometimes, not of Jack's stuff, but links and stuff. I don't want anybody to get a virus or anything. So I'm just gonna double check on another device that it's a cool link and then I'll forward it to you. And then second, you saw that Amy shot out for, Amy and I shot out for you the email that you asked to be sent out to Dr. DeBarge and Randy, the chairman, requesting your joint meeting and your questions that you had. And unless Amy's received something, pretty much it's been radio silence. We
I
have
have
heard
not
nothing.
received anything.
Yes, we have received no answer to your questions or to your request for a joint meeting. Now, I will tell you further down when we discuss BOE finances, you will note that Andy does make a mention of your questions in it, and we can talk about that when we get down there. But Amy and I also thought it was important to put into your package the communications that have been going back and forth between her and either TMS, Andy, or in general also, and Mike, because as you know, we put out that question of wanting to know, since it just doesn't seem to be very cooperative, that how responsible are we to be making sure that corrective action plan is happening and following through. So I'm sure that a lot of you have been able to read through all of your communications. Was everybody able to read through those? All right,
Yes.
so I will let Amy give you a little bit of a quick timeline and ask any questions that you have, or her or I have questions about the communications. I think that obviously the last communication she put in there with Mike's update, letting us know that the Board of Ed has now requested that he be brought on to help them resolve their problems, speaks volumes. But did you guys have any comments, concerns, questions?
I don't.
I guess I would also share, I forgot I hadn't answered the question. He had sent a separate reply answering the question about them spending money on next year's stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So somebody asked me that today. And so I sent that reply, which was a separate email. I forgot it was a separate email.
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw that.
He answered these, I sent him as two questions together. He answered them separately.
Separately, yeah.
And I hadn't answered, so he is fine with the Board of Ed spending money this year for next year.
Right. I think though, you got to read that whole email. He did want them to make sure they looked over and it was not excessive. And, it's fine to do it, but is it being done in good faith? So.
And the second
So-
email is really about reconciling, because one of Mike's response was that you guys need to ask me whether we're reconciled or not.
Correct.
So I went back and reconciled interfunds again. Still the same pieces that don't reconcile are still the Board of Ed. So we can talk more about that under the new business that has reconciliations under there, but this
Yep.
email I sent to them on how he needed to reconcile, what entries he needed to book, and they still are not booked as of today. I don't know when Mike's starting to work for him. But that is where we are for reconciliations for the interfunds.
Well, don't they need to be reconciled by the end of the year?
Oh, most certainly. That was our problem
So,
last year's audit, remember?
right, so how much time do
And
we
said,
have?
oh, by the way, we have a problem of $350,000.
Right. So well, that's my question. How much time do we have? What is today?
15
Well-
days.
Well, he said he thought their work would be done by June 30. Is what Mike said. So I'm assuming sometime in the next 2.5 weeks, he's spending time there. As of today, nothing was booked because I ran things today to look.
Okay.
And the problem that was 1.5 million when I sent him all those journal entries. I don't know what
Is
day it
now
was.
how much?
1.7. On May 27th, I sent him the journal entries he needed to book.
So in other words, though, if you read what Mike sent us back, we will not be held responsible. We will continue to ask Amy about the reconciliations, both our side and the Board of Ed side, and she will update us on that as she sees what happens through it. That is what our job responsibility is. It ultimately comes down, as that email said, to the superintendent to make sure that it gets done and that the corrective action plan is followed through and it doesn't fall into the new year. They got, what did you say, Amy? 2 weeks?
Yeah,
So
about 2.5 weeks.
talk about cutting it close. So yeah, we shall see what happens. And I think that was about it. We will, each month, we will have reconciliations on the new business rather than having the Board of Ed comment on their corrective action plans. It'd be more productive. So, anything from anybody for now?
Amy, I have a question. It's Noreen.
Sure.
On this spread, on all the journal entries you sent him, telling him, exactly what he needs to do. Is that something dramatically different from the old system to the new Munis system? Or,
Yes.
okay,
So before, in their system, they did one-sided entries.
okay,
They didn't have to do two-sided entries. And they didn't do any of their own accounting relating to grants. They didn't have their own separate fund. If you remember, they used to be just a line in my 105 fund. So they recorded it in their ledger like a subledger. And then we had to record it all over again a second time.
okay,
So basically the accounting was being done twice, once in their subledger in detail, and then in our ledger in summary form. But then we never reconciled. We would have things in there that we didn't know about. They would be booking them in their subledger and not telling us. So then we wouldn't know about them to book them in ours. This happened with things like void checks or moving things around between the grant fund and the operating fund. So there was always issues with reconciliation on the Board of Ed side where they were doing things that we didn't know about. So the
Refresh
thought-
my, go ahead,
thought
Amy,
was
sorry.
when we went to Munis, it was going to take away the need to reconcile. Because if we book the cash and we debit our cash and credit the interfund because we're giving it over to the Board of Ed to their grant fund, on their side, they should be debiting the interfund and crediting their revenue, because basically in a normal transaction, you're recording your cash and you're recording the revenue. But for this case, the cash is coming in one fund, the general fund on the town, and it belongs to another fund, one of the Board of Ed grant funds. So there's just two offsetting interfund entries. So basically every time something happens, as long as they're recording their revenues or their expenditures and offsetting the interfund, we should always balance.
all right.
So on our interfunds on the town side, we balance every entry we do. We never don't balance. In his case, when I told him two things were off, instead of just booking the revenue in the interfund in his grant fund, he also booked as if he got the cash in his Board of Ed general fund. So now the cash is recorded in our side and now recorded in his side. same amount of cash. But he never got any cash.
But these double-sided transactions
Yes,
are standard double-sided, normal GASB accounting, any CPA, any accountant, any high-level bookkeeper understands double-sided transactions, right?
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Amy, refresh my memory back. How long ago, because I have a bad memory. How long ago did we start Munis and start the training of Munis?
Summer of 19.
Okay,
And then we started all the planning and putting together, and then we went live. We were originally both supposed to go live on April 1st. We made a decision in February to not go April 1st, to go May 1st. And the Board of Ed made the decision to wait until June 30th,
of
2020.
2020, but they're
Yes.
still not doing Munis 100%
Yes,
a year later.
yes.
When you had all of the training things, because I know there were a ton of training things, were they attended by you guys and by Andy?
Not always. He felt he knew more about it because he had implemented Munis other places.
But how, okay. Okay,
Me and one or the other of my staff, or my two staff together, we had two people attend every session. So that it wasn't just one person that knew everything. But that was a town decision.
but now according to Mike, he will be being paid to assist the Board of Ed on how to transition into Munis for the reconciliations, correct?
Yes,
So we're really paying twice to have somebody trained on it because we didn't follow through.
or we might not have set it up correctly. I'm not so sure the
True.
Board of Ed is set up in the best format that I would have picked. That wasn't my choice. I set myself up in all our funds.
Yeah.
So I did not set up any of the Board of Ed funds.
Gotcha. Who did?
Andy.
Okay.
Andy, Melissa, Christine.
Gotcha. All right, so that pretty much tells you where we are. So as far as that, and as far as communication with the Board of Ed, it's just gonna be us asking Amy what's been accomplished and what, on the reconciliations. So that's really kind of where we are. It doesn't make sense for us to keep pounding our head up against a brick wall. Well, and do you guys agree, I guess, would be the
No, I
question.
mean, we did our duty by asking them to sit down, have a meeting with us, discuss with us what's going on. They obviously haven't responded, so they don't want to do it, which is sad, but it is what it is, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, look at it.
Yep. Anybody else?
I mean, I've said it before, I mean, it's public funds, it's public money, it needs to be transparent, and it doesn't seem like it's being transparent or being done properly, in my opinion. I mean, I mean, I know we have no control over it because we give them their dollar amount, they do what they need to do, but it does not seem transparent and proper to me, in my opinion.
Well, and unfortunately, we have no control over that, so. All right, anything else? All right, so onward to 8 monthly reports, and we'll start with town, Miss Amy.
Great. So this month you have several things relating to monthly reports. You have regular tax reports, you have your revenue reports, you have your expense report, you have your CNR report, but then you have an end of the year estimate. I took the expenses through May and guessed what it's going to look like by the time we get done on June 30. Does everybody see all those reports?
Is that the one that's 8A, Amy?
Well, it's really not 8A. It is 8A, but it starts on page 21.
Yeah, okay. Yep, that's, okay.
So that is basically our May financials are the first one, two, three columns. Well, after the account numbers and the names, the 3 number columns. Budget, the revised budget, and then the year-to-date expended. Those, if you check them to your May reports, would exactly match. But then I said, and this is Barbara's request, which is kind of funny that unfortunately she's not here to see it, that we're actually doing it. But I actually did this numbers for May and June, and then I updated it again when we got to May. So I think still coming in June, and then what we think we'll have for expenditures and what it leaves left. So then I did an analysis. What's in there and why? So I guess I'm going to start there, and I'm going to start with revenue and then go through the expenditures. And then if you have questions, I'll take questions. So revenue, ECS right now has $65,000 in special education funds. They have not requested them, so we have not given them to them. Tax, we will be, and the prior year taxes, motor vehicle sup, and interest and liens will have an overall surplus of over 300,000. This one we've had a lot of time. Interest income will not make budget. I think I have to tell you that every month. Use of fund balance. As we all know, 750,000 was budgeted use of fund balance. And then we did police body cameras for 38,795. Dispatch computers for 12,167. 478,380 was the 2% going to the Board of Ed fund that we allowed them to keep. And then the debt pay down was 3.5 million for a total of 4,779,342. All right, next, town clerk is going to have a surplus of $20,000 in their revenue. Planning permits are going to have a surplus of 17. Police fees have a surplus of 4. Building permits have a surplus of 103, but Silverman out on Route 5 was 204,000. So without Silverman, we would not have made the building department permit fee revenue. All right, so that's for revenue. Does anybody have any questions on other revenue that I didn't cover?
Good.
Okay, so expenditures. Assessor has a savings in the full-time line because they have a vacancy in assistant assessor since last fall. And travels and dues and fees have savings. Now you will hear that comment in almost every department. We all have travels and dues and fee savings because conferences weren't held or they were held virtually at a much less reduced cost. There was no travel related costs because nobody went anywhere. So that you'll see repeatedly throughout all the departments. Tax collector, they have a savings in their part-time line because they've had a vacancy in that position all year and didn't fill it. Treasurer, I had a savings in my part-time line because I didn't hire my person until December of 2020, but it's offset by an overage and overtime, savings, travels, and dues and fees. Activities and fees, CCM only charged us 50% this year. So that is a short-term savings. We're not going to get it next year. They just nicely reduced our fees by half due to the services we weren't getting because people couldn't go to in-person activities. CROG remained flat, so that had a little bit of a savings. Town clerk, we had a vacancy in the town clerk position, and then when they come on, we pay less than the prior person. There's a reduction in the beginning for, I think in supervisors, it's optional, and in clerical, it's required currently. Registers, they have savings in election workers. No surprise there. We didn't have 3 referendums. We have savings in travels and dues and fees. I think Karen couldn't go and finish her classes yet because they weren't being held. Planning, we have savings in the planner position vacancy, and they're partially offset by the consultant that was in professional services. I think during the year, we did a couple different transfers to cover that for that person as we had no person in the planner position. Property insurance, we had a savings in the LAP policy because there was no increase this year. Police had clerical savings in position vacancies. The new guy they hired didn't come on until fall. And then they had another retirement and a vacancy for a short while before that position was filled. Officer savings due to retirements, dispatch savings due to retirement, and PD overtime is over budget due to vacancies / leaves coverage. You have vacancies in your other positions, you're paying somebody else to cover them. Building is over in full-time salaries due to the vacancy in the part-time position. It will be offset by the part-time position savings because that position wasn't filled until fall. They have savings in the professional fees. Fees for additional inspection help was not needed for Calamar because Calamar really didn't have anything happen this year. Fire marshal, we have savings in the stipend because they're being paid by the hour. They have savings in supplies because they didn't need their new software. They're using, I think, the same software as Warehouse Point uses. With that change in that arrangement. Public Works, full-time salary savings due to position vacancies. They had somebody retire last spring that was not filled until fall. Then they had somebody else leave that was not filled. And they had a couple other spots that people weren't promoted into the next spot up. And when they were, it didn't necessarily come with a raise in the beginning. They are overspent in overtime, but their full-time salary savings will cover it. So no transfers needed from the emergency storm fund. Town properties, building repair is overspent, but will be covered by other savings within the department budget. Road improvements, we have $100,000 in savings in salt and sand, but it will be offset by road maintenance expenditures. Sanitation, both accounts will be overspent due to additional refuge due to the pandemic. Transfers are later on our agenda. Senior services, full-time and part-time savings due to vacancies during the year. Savings in professional services and programs and travel and dues and fees. Services, part-time savings due to vacancy. Savings in both general assistance and evictions and ejections due to moratoriums. Park and Rec, savings and part-time salary due to no staff in the summer of 2020. She did nicely give $8,500 of her money to the town hall to use, and we put it into the planning department so that people could come and help when we renovated and cleaned files out and got some organization going at town hall. And they also have savings in travels and dues and fees. Debt service. We had our closing yesterday. We paid $3,387,211.48 of the $3.5 million. But you'll see, I have a reclass here tonight. I put it all in principal instead of the lease payments. So now my lease payments has a big shortfall of $340,000. But that is inclusive of that payment for the 3.387. All the fees, I think it's a total of $21,000 in fees for the verification agent, the banking people who are doing the defeasance, the lawyers, and that will all be charged to interest expense. And I did verify with Mike that that was a fine account to use, and that's where it will be paid from. Capital improvements, we paid the leases off in May, but the budget transfers needed, which is on your agenda tonight. Employee benefits, 27th payroll has not happened. It won't happen until July 8th. FICA savings is due to the salary savings. Our salary savings is about $300,000. So our FICA savings is, I don't know, 30-something thousand. OPEB is overspent because of all the retirements we've had, but the FICA savings will offset the OPEB overspent. So we won't be sending money to OPEB at the end of the year because there's no money left in that line already. Unemployment comp, we have savings, but we have one pending case or maybe two pending cases. People that are looking for unemployment that have left our employment under their own choice. Workers' comp savings, no increase in fiscal year, and they're going to cover the sanitation overages. Health and life insurance, savings due to employees not taking insurance. We plan for every vacancy to take full family coverage. And people come on and sometimes don't take the insurance at all, which is our biggest savings, or they take 2-person or single. So we have savings there. H&H, claims not significant this year. The balance will be spent to the special revenue fund when we close fiscal 2021 in September. Physicals is overspent. Transfer out is the Board of Ed 2% fund transfer approved by you guys in December of 2020. That is my fiscal year in a snapshot. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope, that was very detailed. Thank you.
Amy, I have a question.
Sure.
On the last page, so essentially we have $1 million.
Yes.
Budget $1 million. That includes the thing we did with the $3 million and not having to pay those, right? That whole principal payment thing with the $3 million and paying off the bonds, that's included in this $1 million, correct?
Well, we didn't have really any savings in the budget this year for it, but the 100,000 that we didn't spend is in this $1 million.
Okay.
But the 3.5 million really wasn't budget savings because we paid all the debt service for this whole year. We'll have the savings next year.
Okay, but
We don't have debt payments to pay.
is in here.
But it
Okay.
is in that $1 million, and the line below that is 304,000 is the salary savings.
Okay.
$1 million.
Any other questions of Amy? All right. So we will move on. It's 8B, which is BOE FY 2021 financial reports. So that is where you get your answer to your question, your one, how did he word it? He's answering the main question that the Board of Finance asked. He's answering it to the Board of Ed. And did it answer your question? The one question? How many questions did you have total? I don't even remember, to be honest.
I don't know if I have that email in here.
Yeah, I don't remember, but he answered, Noreen, that was your question, right? That he answered, that one at the bottom of the page?
Consider it an answer. I mean, honestly, I read it and I thought it doesn't make any sense. I don't even know what to make of it. It's the reports that they give us, and part of what came up with the questions last month was that there were revenue figures on there that weren't really, they weren't calling them revenue figures, but they were money coming in. And this month, the things I had a problem with last month, he took off of the report this month. They're just gone. They're just gone. There was one about, are you giving them another $350,000 to the cafeteria account? So that line has just vanished off of this month's spreadsheets. That whole.
I did notice that. I happened to notice that, yeah.
So, you know, him saying that these are expense budget reports, it maybe if you did it like that all the time, but some months they have revenue on them, some months they don't have revenue on them. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know.
So Amy, is that still an open question if they put 305, I can't even talk. Is that still an open question, or did they put 350 into their cafeteria fund?
That is an open question because that is one of the 6 or whatever questions. I took Noreen's questions, I took Karen's question, and the question about the 350, and I sent them all to them in that list, and I never heard back. That was the same email that I asked them about having a meeting.
Yep. Okay.
I heard nothing.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So we can quickly go over number 2 because we have nothing.
Just to make it clear, some of the problems that I had last month are resolved. Like the lines add up now, which is a good thing. Where last month they did not add up, they were doubled because they included their subtotals within their expense lines. They corrected that. But again, they just took off whole sections of money. So they're not really answered, but there was some improvement, I suppose.
Gotcha.
The expense areas are now adding. So I'll take that as a good thing.
Sounds good. All right, so then we're gonna move on to 8C, the transfers FY 2021. Now, we have the first ones that hit our packet originally, transfer number 39, 40, and 41. Then we have the additional ones that Amy had sent over that are 42 through, good
Thinking
Lord,
57?
57. So, for those, I will turn it over to Jason, so he can do his PowerPoint. So why don't we get first transfers 39, 40, and 41 done, because they were the original quickies to do for this month, and then I'll hand it over to Jason. So if somebody wants to make a motion for number 39, which is for $340,000.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 39 for the Finance Department, the amount of $340,000 from debt principal to lease purchase.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Noreen.
Yes.
All right, if we could have somebody for number 40 for sanitation.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 40, sanitation, amount of $22,000 from workers' comp to sanitation collections.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. Tom T.
Any discussion? All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Noreen.
Yes.
And number 41,
Bill, I move we approve transfer request number 41 for sanitation, the amount of $11,000 from workers' comp to sanitation disposal.
okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Noreen.
Yes.
Motion passes, and I'll hand it over to Jason.
Who seconded that one?
Oh dear.
I don't think anybody seconded that.
No, somebody did. You sure it wasn't you, Tom T?
Yes, I sure say it. Yes. I seconded it.
Okay.
All right, Jason.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm glad I'm able to be with you tonight because we thought at one point that Baby would be here, but Baby is not here yet. So Amy talked to you a little bit about where the finances for the current fiscal year stand. And so I put together a proposal that I've shared with the selectmen. But ultimately, the approval for these falls totally and solely to the Board of Finance. So I'm going to share with you some thoughts on what I consider to be long overdue projects that we can make some advancements on now, given the condition of our current fiscal year, end of year budget, without adversely impacting taxpayers. Effectively, they've already paid for it, and there's not a mechanism by which to return it to them. So first, where the budget is as of last Thursday, I think Thursday, whenever the 10th was. So we're anticipating turning back $1,069,662 at the end of this year. What I put together tonight are potential requests in the amount of $495,140, which would leave us in a position to turn back to the fund balance when all is said and done, somewhere between $534,000 and $574,522. So here are the projects that I'm going to talk to you about and ranked by what I consider to be the most urgent versus the most want to have. So I'm going to talk to you about the need for funding for a consultant for an RFP to replace the radio system, funding for some IT needs at the police department, additional planning money, like big picture turnkey project plan money, some playground equipment money, facilities improvements for town properties throughout town. It's not renovations, it's not interior improvements, it's aesthetic improvements at municipal properties. Funding for portable emergency showers, replacement of servers that service the town hall and town hall annex, and emergency signage. So first, I think everybody is aware that the Board of Selectmen issued an RFP for a consultant to help guide us through the radio replacement process earlier this year. The low bidder for that was $75,000. The existing radio system is about 18 years into a 10-year lifespan, so we're 80% beyond its projected useful life. This system provides emergency services and emergency communications, fire departments, the ambulance service, the police department, public works, WPCA, the senior center, parks and recreation, the Board of Education, and town hall.
Hey, Jason, can I interrupt just for a second? Can everybody mute? Because somebody or all of us have really bad feedback and it's hard to hear Jason. So can we just all mute for now? Thanks.
Thanks, Geraldine. So the total ask for the RFP is $75,000. And that's really money well spent because it's going to have somebody who understands how radio systems need to work, but also bring a third-party perspective to what our major investment solicitation may be. So that's request number one. Request number two is for some IT needs at the police department that allow them to maintain their compliance with state and federal laws. They need to replace an iRecord system, which is necessary to comply with laws concerning felony interviews. And they also need to replace their Verint system, which is what records their phone calls, their 911 calls, their dispatch information, that type of thing. And that is a huge liability shield for the town to make sure that we have those programs in place. The total ask for that is $27,000. Next, the Board of Finance wisely included $100,000 for long-term turnkey project planning in the budget that was recently approved. That should be enough to get us about one project in a turnkey condition. I don't know how many people follow the news out of Washington, D.C. very closely, but there were 10 Republican senators just this evening that announced their support for the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which is enough to invoke cloture in the Senate, which means that assuming the train stays on the tracks down in D.C., we're getting closer to an infrastructure deal. And that means that there's the opportunity for federal money to be coming for infrastructure planning. What I want to make sure is that we have at least 2 turnkey projects ready to go on the shelf in the event of state bonding opportunities, federal infrastructure dollars, or when the town gets in a position to be ready to bond for investment in ourselves so that we're ready to go in a timely fashion and we don't miss opportunities. So I'm asking for an additional $100,000 to be set aside for that. Next, and this is straight off the CIP list. I think some of you were at the inaugural concert for the band shell the other night. That was something that we were able to get constructed last year in the midst of the pandemic. Our first performance there had 265 adults in attendance and another 40 or so kids. Which was, I think, a tremendous success. And I think everybody had a really great time and it's a perfect night. I'm looking forward to more as the summer goes along. But in talking with Noreen earlier today, she rightly pointed out there's only 2 swings in the entire park that are appropriate for small children. Only 2, and they're not even on the same swing set. They're in 2 different locations. We have not done a good job over time in investing in our parks. We just haven't. It's been something that's on the wish list through CIP forever. And because we don't have sufficient funding available for capital projects, it's always one of those things that gets cut. So the town had access to LoCIP money, local capital improvement money, which is a state grant that could be used for a number of things. And the selectmen approved using LoCIP funds to do a long delayed but necessary master plan for our town parks. Once we have this master plan ready, what I'm asking the Board of Finance to do is to park this $70,000 in a CNR fund so that once the master plan is done, we can actually start implementing some of it in short order. Again, that would be money that we would hold in CNR until the master plan was completed, but it doesn't do us any good to have a plan when we don't have any resources to start to implement it. Even $70,000, which is just a fraction of what Melissa has requested over time for parks improvements, even that $70,000 is still a meaningful investment. The next is the need to improve municipal properties. And there was some discussion of the Board of Selectmen about what this means. The Town Hall Annex, the Town Hall and the Senior Center and the DPW garage have all been renovated in the last 6 years. There is not a tremendous need to do additional interior work in those buildings. There is a need to invest in the exteriors of those buildings and in other town properties. We need to look like we treat our buildings and our assets responsibly. Right now we don't. You know, it looks like a cinder block building or a brick building and there's grass in front of it or there's mulch in front of it. What we need to do is we really need to be investing ourselves. So that what this could include is landscaping, ADA improvements, some fencing upgrades. We have a chain link fence at the town park that we could replace with a nice wood slat fence, like you see in front of the Nilsson property. We need to refinish, refresh, and relight parking lots in town. These are all things that we've asked for and don't get funded. And so now that there's an opportunity for us to capture some surplus this year, I'm asking you all to set aside $100,000 for the reason that East Windsor is a great place to live. It's a great place to work, and we should be putting that face forward to people who are considering coming to town. We need to look like we take pride in our community so that others will be interested in joining our community. The next one, and this is an actual picture of what the acquisition would look like. But I'm asking, and this is an emergency management ask as well, that we consider purchasing portable emergency showers. The reason for portable emergency showers is because it would allow us to turn any municipal building or almost any public building into an emergency shelter if there was a need. The reason why that's significant in my eyes is because when there is a tropical storm Sandy or a winter storm Albert or Alfred or whatever that one was called, when there is a Isaias that hits us and we have a sustained long-term power outage, it's not always in the same place. So the adaptability that is provided by having portable handicapped showers allows us to turn any structure into a shelter that can allow people to shower, basically. So this is a $63,000 quote that we have. There was talk amongst the selectmen, Selectmen D'Souza, Nordell, and Muska, thought that we would be better spent fixing one of the showers at the middle school or at the high school. Again, that takes the adaptability out of it. And even if you're using the middle school as an example, neither showers are ADA compliant as it stands. You can't get a wheelchair up and down stairs in that building. So I'm sharing with you what their concerns were, but also that my recommendation is that we embrace the flexibility provided by these portable showers and the adaptability that it brings to emergency management circumstances. The next, we have 4 servers that service 2 buildings. We have 2 in the town hall and 2 in the town hall annex. They are also 80% beyond their useful life. They were put in 6 or 7 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry, they're at 80% of their useful life, not beyond it. That's a typo. They were put in 6 or 7 years ago. They're operating on technology and software that dates back to 2013 and 2008. And we are at a point where we will need to replace them. We do need to replace them. So my recommendation was to replace 2 of those now because we had the availability to do so. Selectman Baker, who works in the field, and Selectman D'Souza suggested it would be better because we have the money to park funding to also do the other 2. And that's why that total funding request that I talked to you about before was somewhat fluid. Is it because it's contingent on you guys deciding to replace 2 servers or 4 servers? The last time that these servers went down, so too did town government for a couple of days. We don't want to be in that position again. We want to be planning for a replacement schedule that allows us to keep things moving along. The last request is for electronic signage. This is a request. This is also a CIP request that was submitted by the chief of police. And what we mean by this is when there is an incident that requires immediate notification. I'm not talking about those speed signs that are out around town, although they have the ability to do that too. We're talking about the portable messaging signs. So road closure ahead, or detour at this road, so that it is a portable means of communicating that there is emergency services activity happening imminently. The request for that is $20,140. Was an unfunded request through CIP. Selectmans Nordell and Muska here also thought that the money would be better used in installing digital signage outside of town hall. That's been talked about for a number of years, and it's actually a pretty good idea, but it does not comport with the town's zoning regulations. After a conversation with Ruth Calabrese the other day, I confirmed that it does not comport. So somebody's going to say the Warehouse Point Fire Department has one. Well, they got a variance from ZBA to do it. Somebody else would point out that the East Windsor High School has one, and I'm pretty sure they just didn't care about what the process was. But we are tasked with enforcing the rules, and so while those rules are in place, it seems a little disingenuous for us to be violating our own rules and expecting others to adhere to them. So that's why I'm supporting the police chief's ask for an emergency signage unit to be purchased and available. So the total project requests are $495,140 with some $40,000 variance depending on if you were to fund all of those projects plus the other 2 servers that need to be replaced, which still has us returning about $550,000 to the fund balance. This is, as I said before, this is an opportunity for us to make meaningful advances in those things that have gone for too long neglected without asking the taxpayers to pay more out of their own pocket. So I think the opportunity is right to talk about these, and I appreciate your time. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Thank you, Jason. All right, so are there any questions for Jason at this point in time?
I have one. How much were for the servers?
The servers are roughly $20,000 a piece. So included in my in the memo that I sent to you and in the presentation tonight was the assumption that 2 servers would be replaced. But if you were to do the recommendation of Selectman Baker and Selectman D'Souza, that number would go from 40,000 to 80,000.
Okay.
Jason, with the portable showers, where would you store them when they're not being used?
We haven't really determined that yet, but the most likely place is at the emergency management garage, which is located on the DPW grounds. They have a couple of garage bays there that are specifically used for emergency management equipment. And actually the Broadbrook Fire Department still camps out some of their carnival equipment there.
All right, so I'm gonna guess, I don't know too much about them, but I'm gonna guess that as far as that Public Works would be in charge of, I'm gonna guess because it runs water, it does all that kind of stuff, it's gonna be kind of one of those things that you have to winterize, do that kind of fun stuff, and that would be part of Public Works, right?
That's correct.
Okay, yep. Anybody else?
Jason, how many showers are in that? How big is that unit for showers?
That unit that I showed you the photo of is actually a photo off of the spec that was submitted to the town, and it has 3 full ADA showers in it.
And how big is the trailer or whatever? How many feet? How big is it?
Give me a second to see if I can pull it up. And while I'm looking for that, I would also point out that just the ramp that was shown in that visual is about a $25,000 ramp if you were to try and put that onto your house. And that came about in a conversation with one of the members of my board who has some experience with that. So let me see if I can find that quote for you. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. Where did it go? One second. Still pulling it up. Why should not open? So here's the spec. Looks like it's 16 feet. £7,000 torsion axle. Does this answer your question, Karen?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions for Jason?
Geraldine, I have a couple.
Sure.
Jason, on the shower situation, when we have a problem, do many people go to the shelters? And what do we generally have at shelters for people?
So typically we provide a space for either cooling or heating, depending on the season, and a place for people to charge phones. There have been instances in the past where we've set up cots where people could sleep overnight if their own homes particularly were not heated. My time as first selectman is difficult for me to benchmark that because the only long-term emergency that the town sustained was in the midst of the highly contagious pandemic. So we actually actively did not encourage people to congregate together for fear of causing a microburst of COVID. There's a mini super spreader event. So we did have people shower at the high school during Hurricane Isaias. There have been instances where people have tried to shower. I'm thinking back into particular some of the winter storm events, which are more dangerous than the summer events because people could freeze to death. The worst thing that happens in the heat is, people find shelter and just try and stay cool, but you can actually die in the winter events. So there have been people who have tried to shower at churches. There have been people who have simply left town. We don't have a gym in town with shower capabilities, but some towns would use like a LA Fitness or a Cardio Express or something like that. We don't have any of that. So to the extent that we would be providing an opportunity, it's contingent upon the circumstance. If Warehouse Point gets nailed and the generator at the school fails, we have no option. Conversely, and this happened last time, the town hall annex didn't have power for I think a day and then came back on. The school never lost it because of the circuit that was on, but there were significant portions of Broadbrook that were out for between 6 and 7 days. So it depends on where the damage is. And I have a map in my office that actually outlines all of the circuits that bring energy into town. So you can see if there is a problem on Rice Road, you can see what circuit number that's on and where that power is coming from so that you can anticipate when that's going to be coming back online. The damaging circumstance that we have is that the Broadbrook Fire Department, Town Hall, Park Hill are all on the same circuit. So if one of those is down without power, they're all down without power. And that's just a product of how the electrical system was laid out. That's not it's not any municipal issue. It's just the way it is. So it depends on where the circumstances, and that's why the adaptability, I think, is so appealing, because we can turn the elementary school into a shelter with shower capabilities. We could turn town hall into that. We could turn the annex into a shelter with shower capabilities. We could turn the middle school. It's just wherever circumstances would invite, we can respond accordingly.
All right, and then I got one other question on the sign.
Mhm.
I know it says in the narrative that, you know, we can post messages on the sign of, you know, vote next week or whatever they are. If it's a portable sign that can get moved around, can you put it in front of town hall, or is that against zoning?
That would probably be all right. It can't be a permanent, a fixed structure. But you know, if you were to, I mean, we've seen it done where people park their large red pickup trucks outside of town hall with all kinds of obnoxious signs on it during election day. So it's,
Okay.
There's a way.
So if it's portable, it's doable, but permanent's not possible.
Yeah, the zoning regulations don't allow for a permanent fixed structure that changes its messaging digitally in anything other than time or temperature. So if you drive by a bank, like for example, there's a bank on, was that Elm Street in Enfield, that has it's now 11:55 and 67 degrees. That's allowable. But announcing that the Memorial Day parade is going to be canceled because of rain, that's not permissible.
Okay, and then one last question. The speed sign and the playground equipment were on the capital improvement and did not get in.
Correct.
There's 3 other things on that capital improvement that we got that didn't get in as well. There was sidewalks, the replace and purchase equipment at the town garage, and then carpeting at the high school. There's nothing in there. Those aren't something that we should be looking to do rather than some of the things that weren't in the capital improvement project.
So these are the projects that I've identified by talking with professional staff that I think make the most sense right now, given the position that we're in. But if you run those projects by me one at a time, I'll tell you specifically why we thought other than that. The first one that I heard you say was about carpeting in the schools, and CIP actually had a discussion about that where they talked about the $4 million or so that the schools are getting from.
Yeah, we can skip that one. The carpeting is not, but there was there's $20,000 for DPW facility equipment, replace or purchase equipment, and it just says that it's the service garage and maintenance of town facilities. It doesn't specifically say what they wanted.
Yeah, so you've been around long enough now, and I think you've all been around long enough to know that Len and Joe are pretty adaptable themselves when it comes to making their budgets work. So I'm sure if they have a true need for whatever they were talking about in that ask, they would find a way to make that happen.
Okay.
They are very good with $1.
All right, and then the only other remaining one would be there was $50,000 asked for sidewalk repairs. Their total project cost is $250,000, and they wanted $50,000 for that. So I'm guessing it's not necessary to put money into some sidewalks.
So I asked Joe specifically about that. As part of that LoSiP allocation, the selectmen set aside $70,000 for sidewalk improvements in the Warehouse Point Village section. And he had other monies that were available, I think through the sidewalk fund. So the question that I had for him is, did he have enough to finish that project? And he said he did. So because of that, I thought that these other projects probably ranked higher. Especially since we were just about to spend 100 or 120,000 on sidewalks in Warehouse Point.
Jay,
Okay.
I would just also comment that we have a huge Broadbrook grant that was applied for, I think, before I came to East Windsor, that they are working on the Broadbrook section also.
Yeah, that's the connectivity grants. That's going to run sidewalks on a big loop across Perry, down Depot Street, up Main Street, and up Windsorville and Reservoir. So there's a very large, it's probably a 2-mile walking loop that's going to be put in next year. And that is DEC grant.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that there weren't things waiting on CIP that we weren't replacing, I guess. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the answer is yes, there are. There always are.
Right.
We're even with where you guys are sitting now, we're not in a position where we can do it all. But with the $3.5 million that we just paid off existing debt with, we'll be able, and the plan is later in the summer or into the fall, that professional staff will start working on options for the boards of selectmen and finance to consider in terms of future bond projects. So we're in a very good financial position right now where we're able to tackle some of these things that have gone ignored for too long. These are the things that I thought, these 8 projects that are before you with those comments from the selectmen that I noted before, are just projects that I thought we could, take a quick bite out of now because of the position we're in at the end of the fiscal year.
Thanks.
All right, anybody else? All that money and no more question?
I like to think I did a thorough job here.
Well, you did. You did. All right, guys, if there are no more questions, then that brings you to the transfer request form that has 42 through 57, which are the requests that are pertaining to this presentation. So, and as Jay said, in there twice will be your servers. So you will have to decide where you're going to go with that. So if somebody wants to start with number 42, and if we pop to something where you go, oh yeah, I'd like to discuss that more, we can discuss it more as you get to it. So if somebody could make a motion for.
Can I?
Yep, go ahead, Aim.
For just a second. Okay.
Yeah.
There's 2 transactions. If it's going to the CNR account, there's 2 transactions for the same amount of money. So your very first one has $75,000 from debt principal to the CIP allocation, but then the transfer in CNR and allocating it to the emergency management radio equipment project. So, but I do not have all 4 servers in here. I only have one $40,000 transaction. So that only covers 2 of the 4 servers. I did
Okay.
put 2 transactions in here.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right, so does somebody want to start with 42?
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 42 from the selectmen for $75,000 from debt principal to CIP allocation.
Is there a second? Hello?
Tom T, I'll second that.
All right, any discussion?
No, I think this is needed and a good move, and I have no problem with this transfer.
Right. All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Noreen.
Yes.
All right, motion passes on to number 43.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 43 in the amount of $75,000 from CNR to radio equipment.
Is there a second?
I'll second that again.
Tom T? All right,
Yes.
all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
Noreen.
Yes.
All right, motion passes on to 44.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 44 in the amount of $27,000 from LAP insurance to police equipment.
Is there a second?
Yeah, Tom L, I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
Again, I think this is a good use of fund dollars.
All right, And all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
yes,
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
yes,
Noreen.
Yes.
Onward. 45.
This is Bill. I'll move we approve transfer request number 45 for $100,000 from life and health insurance to CIP allocation.
Is there a second?
Tom L, I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
Yes, this is an additional $100,000 on top of what we already approved.
Yep.
Is this going to be spent for just more study, or what? How does this get used exactly? I didn't quite follow that in the presentation.
So typically, when you apply for grant-funded infrastructure projects, you need to have a turnkey ready spec book. Those typically will include the arc and engineering, the actual plan book that goes with an associated project. The $100,000 that was approved in the budget is probably enough to cover one project. What I'm asking here for is the funding to cover a second project. So that in the event that we could, well, it's no secret that I badly want to see us do a community center or a senior center. That would be a book. If that's what the decision was to fund, that would be a project. But at the same time, if there was an opportunity for us to run gas and water up 140 so that we could actually capitalize on the streets there and see meaningful development there, we would need a plan book for that if we're going to get money for it. So as an example, those are two examples. It's not what we're doing, but those are examples of why I think the town needs two different sets of plans ready to go in that quote unquote shovel ready condition.
Okay, thank you.
Jason, I have a question. The 100,000 that was already taken care of, are you in the process of getting this going? Like, do you have?
No, we don't have the money yet.
Well, you will soon. Like, how does it gonna work? You have to go out for proposals, and do you have to have a plan for them so that you need to know what it is you're going after? Or do you bring somebody in who looks at everything and says, this is where you're gonna get your biggest bang for your buck?
Well, that last part would require additional funding to bring that person in. That wouldn't be something that's covered in the plan development. So the concept would be, first I got to get the selectmen to decide what project they want to do. And so my thought with that is we'll present them with an idea or two and then see if we're on the right page, and then we move from there. But it's not something that it's not a decision that we would make in a vacuum by any stretch. There's
When do you foresee
a public process.
with the selectmen at least?
Probably after I get back from paternity leave. I admittedly have not moved because I didn't think I was even going to be here tonight. So it's a short-term goal. It's not a long-term goal. I want to move quickly on it because of those reasons that I'm asking for additional money. There's going to be opportunities, and if we sit and wait too long and dither about what we're going to be planning for, it doesn't really matter because we're going to have missed the opportunity. So we don't have the luxury of sitting for too long.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I honestly have to say I forget where we were.
45.
Okay, and were we on a second or discussion, or where were we? We're
Discussion,
on
please.
discussion, right?
Yep.
All right, so all those in favor, Karen,
Okay, yes.
Tom L,
yes,
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
yes,
Noreen.
Yes.
Okey doke. So onward to 46.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 46 in the amount of $100,000 from CNR to an engineering study.
Is there a second?
Tom L, I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right. All those in favor? Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
yes,
Noreen.
Yes.
All right, onward to number 47.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 47, the amount of $70,000 from health life insurance to CIP allocation.
All right, is there a second?
Tom L., I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Discussion wise, I have to say, I think this is awesome because as you know, I am a big proponent in improving our parks and giving back to our taxpayers in some way that they can utilize it. So I think it's awesome.
Complement the splash pad if it goes at the main park.
Huh?
It'll help complement the splash pad if it goes at the regular.
I'm gonna talk about the splash pad right now. I'm just gonna let that stay quiet for now.
Carolyn, I have a question for Jason.
Noreen?
You wanted to move this money into an account that will be held for once we get the municipal study or the master plan study done. Is there any money available now to Melissa to get some new stuff? Like it's possible to put a couple more baby swings in at the res just by replacing two of the older kids swings for toddler swings. And I'm all for it. I wish you had asked for $200,000. But
Feel
you know,
free to
I
change
would
it.
like, I'm hoping that there's some stuff that they can do because like the other night at the park, it was like, I got there early so that my 3-year-old would have an opportunity to play before all of the other kids got there because there's such limited amounts of stuff in our parks that run across all age groups. So I'm just hoping that Melissa's got some money somewhere else that she can maybe throw in a couple toddler swings at the res. That's my only.
So if, in the event that this transfer for $70,000 for playground money is approved, I will most certainly be calling her this evening to share that news with her. And I'll ask if she can squeeze her current budget to see if she can find money for a couple of additional toddler swings at the park. And, you know, if we need to enlist Amy's help with that, we'll do that too. But your point's well taken.
Thank you.
And if you wanted to do 200,000, hey, you know, you guys are in charge.
Okay, Jason, just relax over there. All right, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom, L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Nori.
Yes, and hallelujah.
Motion passes. All right, so we're on to number 48, same thing. So just boogie on.
This is Bill. Move approve transfer request number 48. It's amount of $70,000 from the CNR to playground equipment.
All right, is there a second?
Tom L., I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, Karen, all those
Yes.
in favor, Karen, Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Nori.
Yes.
All right, so then we're now on to number 49.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 49 in the amount of $100,000 from health life insurance to CIP.
Is there a second?
Tom L., I'll second.
Any discussion? None? Okay, all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
Nori.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Number 50.
This is Bill. I'll move we approve transfer request number 50 in the amount of $100,000 from CNR to Public Works grounds for improvements.
Is there a second?
Tom L., I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Nori.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. And now we are on to number, where am I again?
51.
51?
One, yes.
Okay. And can I have a motion?
I'll let somebody else make this one.
somebody making a motion for the portable showers?
So this one has 3 parts, only because I didn't have enough money in.
Oh my goodness. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna mute for a second. Hold on.
Evelyn, come here a minute, honey. Come here.
So
All right, I don't think that's gonna happen. So Jason, go ahead and explain your shower or whatever, and I'm gonna go grab the dog.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute you while you're gone. So kind of sensing where this one might be going. I would be remiss if I didn't ask for it because it has presented an emergency condition several times since I've been in elective office. I think I can count 4 occasions where we've needed to provide long-term emergency shelter to people. And we just don't have a reliable place to offer showers in that case. Now, the police chief will be the first to tell you, and I think he's right in saying that the folks who live in our town are a resilient people. So when things aren't working in your home, you either hunker down and kind of make do, or you find another alternative. It would be something that the next time I have to deal with a tropical storm or a hurricane or a lights out blizzard, I don't want to have anybody say to me, why didn't you do more to have this as an available service? I'll be more than happy to say you should just talk to the Board of Finance. I asked. But that said, if you're not going to move forward with this, I do have another project that I would consider subbing in that just came to light that Amy doesn't even know about. But the well at Abbey Road has died. And that's about a $25,000 fix to get that going. So I would just throw that out there and share that. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask for the showers. You guys certainly have all of the jurisdiction in the world to decide what you're going to do. But a pretty good night so far, so I'll take it as it comes.
So is there anything else for Jason on the portable showers?
Yeah,
Are
I'll
we
go
gonna-
ahead. Yeah, I can make the motion
Okay,
to move 25,000 from health life insurance to CIP allocation.
is there a second on that? We can just second for discussion, guys.
All right, I'll second for discussion.
Okay. All right, so I guess discussion, why are you all hesitant about this one? So I guess we need to put it out there why everybody is having their hesitancy towards the showers.
If I could speak in support of this and also of the portable sign, I heard some of the concern from the Board of Selectmen where they'd like to have a more permanent place for some of this stuff, but it can be in a different area depending on the need. So I think it's much better to have it portable, to move it to where it's needed. A few years ago, when we had those 8 days of loss of electricity, we were living in Massachusetts at the time, in Granby, Mass, and there were no showers. So we were fortunate enough to go to a local church to get a shower. But I really think this is going to be appreciated the next time we lose power. And I don't see that, not happening. I'm sure in the near future, we're going to be without power again. So I agree with Jason. I'd rather have this than sit around having people say, why don't we have a place for a shower? So I personally think it's a good idea.
Anybody else? I mean, because obviously there's some hesitancy, so let's share the hesitancy and why.
I got one question for Jason.
Go ahead, Tom.
Jason, does this have its own hot water heater? So we can just feed it with cold water? I know you had the specs up before. I mean, because if this is a portable unit, we're just gonna be able to put cold water to it. Or do we have to have hot water?
It's got HVAC, plumbing. It does have an on-demand propane water heater.
Okay, so it does have its own water heater.
Yeah.
To me, that's very important if you're gonna do this.
Yeah, if it's only cold water, I'll withdraw the motion.
Yeah.
This is
All right,
Bill.
anything else, guys?
This is Bill. I just, I don't know. To me, it just seems like a lot of money. I'm just not convinced that it's something we totally need to have in town. That's just my opinion. I mean,
That's fair, Bill. I don't begrudge you that.
yeah, I mean, we've spent a lot of money on a lot of things, and this is just one I just don't see this as a, I don't mind fixing radios. I don't mind, doing servers. I don't mind doing a lot of stuff like that. But this one right here, just, I don't know. It just can't jump on this one for some reason. I don't know.
All
Jason,
right. Any
I-
other discussion?
I have a question, Geraldine.
Yeah.
Do the showers at the middle school function? Or, I know years ago they were using them for storage facilities. Do you know if they ever made them workable again or if they're just storage?
I don't know the answer to that, but in order to get to the boys' locker room, you need to go downstairs. And in order to get to the girls' locker room, you need to go upstairs. And neither one of them have an elevator or ADA accommodations associated with them. They're from a different day. The ones at the high school, last I knew, did not work, and they were used for storage. And I can go back to, they haven't worked in 20 years.
No, but in honesty, I think, the point, Jason, that you made as far as the portability, and before we would do a standing shower at the high school or the middle school or whatever, the idea that you could have it on one side of town or the other side of town, that was the side of town that was affected, to me makes a heck of a lot more sense than doing, 1950 showers. I couldn't unmute myself. All right, we got anything else?
This is Tom T. I kind of agree with Bill. This is something that we may never use. We may never use it for 5 years. It could be sitting around. People in town are pretty resilient. They always can find a way. It's just a lot of money, something that we may not use for a while.
Did you tell him?
Yep, I understand.
He put it in the middle where the couch is. No, he said. All right, are we ready to go?
Yep.
All right, so I better pay attention to this one because I think I'm gonna have to count. So all those in favor on this motion, Karen,
No,
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
No,
Tom T,
No,
Noreen.
No.
Oh, I didn't have to count. There was only one yes. And I can't vote, Jason, but if I could have, I would have yes you on this one, but your motion failed.
I appreciate your both sides of the argument here. It's not a small amount of money, and we may never use it, but it was something that I had a direct experience with as the head of emergency management, and I wanted to make sure you knew that we thought there was a need.
Well, and we may never deal with it, and you're right, but all I can remember back to is way back when we were on the elementary school roof shoveling off snow and having no power for weeks or however long that went. And so that was where I was leaning towards.
I hope that for the duration of my tenure, I never have to worry about it again.
I know, right? Exactly. So actually, we can skip number
52 and 53.
52 and 53, right? Yes.
yeah, probably.
So we will skip over those and go to 54 onto the servers.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 54 in the amount of $40,000 from assessor's full-time salary to CIP allocation.
All right, is there a second?
I'll
Tom
second
L.
it.
Oh, okay. Karen, seconded. Any discussion?
I'll ask this to Amy, if we were to do the 80,000, would the money come, did we have to make another motion from another line, or how would we do that?
Yes, we would have to do if we did 80, we would have to find a second line for it to come from.
Like
I
the
can
line
use
that-
some of the shower money.
Yes.
We'll approve this one and we can figure out where we can make the motion and make another 40,000.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
Tonight?
Yes.
So you know how I hate doing that kind of stuff if it's not on the list though, guys, and it's not. But anyways, well, I digress. Let's continue on with this one. All right, so where were we on this one? Were we first and seconded?
Yes.
All right, any more discussion?
Jason,
All right,
it's
so-
Green.
Whoop, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm guessing that Joe Sauerhopper is the person about this. Was there a reason he didn't want all four? Or was he just being money conscious?
No, Joe's position is that he wants to stagger the replacement schedule so that we don't find ourselves in a position where all four of them need to be replaced at the same time.
Good point.
But the funding availability being there in CNR allows us to replace two now and then two in a year or two, without having to go through the process again. So Alan works in the field. He's an IT person for Bank of America, and his recommendation was because the servers are as old as they were, are as old as they are, and the software is as antiquated as it is. Alan thought we should do them all now. So in the interest of representing the perspectives of my board, I wanted to share with you that there was appetite to replace all of them now, but Joe's ask was to replace two of them.
Well, and I mean, now here I go, sorry, but I just kind of remember with Joe, it was that he felt, oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. I just remember that with Joe, I thought that he truly only felt we needed two at this time. So I don't like getting four just because we have the money. And to me, it makes sense to stagger it. Just my opinion, though.
I agree with that.
I
Only
think one of
because
the, I'm sorry, Tom.
we put, as long as we do put two in now, and if there's any glitches, we don't have the whole system go down, or you still got two that you're used to.
I think one of Alan's concerns was making sure that the new ones could talk to the old ones. So there's in both buildings, there is a primary and then there's a backup redundancy. And if they're too far apart in age or software, they can't necessarily talk. So that, I think, is what Alan's was. Bear in mind, I can barely change my Facebook picture. Miracle for me, I am not an IT guy.
I mean, in this, again, maybe a question for Amy. If we do approve the dollars, it can sit in CIP for a couple years before we use it, correct?
Yes, because if we did one $80,000 allocation, and I did find an account, if we use the DPW full-time salary savings, we could do the 40 from there and do the 40 from the assessor full-time salary savings to get our 80. And then we could move it all to CIP. And as long as we spend some of it within the first year, we would be fine. Because that's the limitations, is if you haven't spent money in the first year, then the project could be closed and sent back. But we don't normally have that problem.
Yeah.
Hey, one of us has really bad reverb stuff.
Karen.
All right, so let's get through this first one and we'll worry about the other two, because I think we're kind of split on whether we need those other two anyways. So let's get through this, since there are 57 and we still have others from the current year. Well, not current, but you know what I mean. So let's just keep trucking along, or this is one of our longest meetings ever, just FYI, guys. So let's keep trucking with these transfers that we have, and then we'll worry about those last two, okay? So any other discussion on 54? And we have a first and second, right?
Yes.
All right, so all in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L. Tom L?
Yes.
What happened to, oh, there you are, Tom.
I'm
Okay, Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Noreen.
Yes.
All right, number 55.
Can I interrupt for 1 second, Geraldine?
Absolutely.
Evelyn, come here, honey. My granddaughter wants to say something to all of you. Go ahead, say it. Say thank you for the playground equipment.
Thank you for paying for the camera.
You're welcome.
To bed.
All right, so on to number 55. If I could have a motion.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 55 in the amount of $40,000 into CNR to IT equipment.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Tom T.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
L,
Yeah, yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
Noreen.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes. And then we are on to number 56.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 56 in the amount of $20,140.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T.
Yes.
Wow, okay. And Noreen.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. And number 57, the last one, yay.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 57 in the amount of $20,140 from CNR to police equipment.
Is there a second?
Yes,
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, Tom T. All right, any more discussion? All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Noreen.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Done deal. All right, are we all good or where are we going with this stuff?
Well, if we, I'll just throw it out there. I'm in favor of putting the $40,000 in CNR for the IT equipment, whether it gets used now or 2 years down the road. I'm in favor of putting the money there.
I agree with Bill only because if those computers don't talk to each other, the servers don't talk to each other, it could be, we need it quicker than later, sooner than later.
I'll be honest with you,
agree
I
too.
wish Joe was on the call because I feel that he asked for 2. He felt we only needed 2. I respect his opinion. So unfortunately, out of all the calls, he's never here. Oh, he's always here, but he's not here tonight. So I feel like we're doing it because we have the money and we're just gonna do it. And I never am comfortable with that kind of situation, as you know. So that's just my opinion. Sorry, Noreen, were you saying something? Or was somebody saying something?
No.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody saying something as we were talking.
Amy, if I did, you said it was Public Works we could do it from?
Yes,
Okay.
could do the same entry. So if you made number 58, it would be the same 40,000, but the account instead would be full-time Public Works.
Yep.
Go to the CIP allocation for the 2 servers, and then the 9 would be the same as 55, moving from CNR transfer in to the IT equipment.
Okay. So I will make a motion for transfer request number 58 in the amount of $40,000 from Public Works full-time to CIP allocation.
I'll second that, Tom T.
Any discussion?
Just as further discussion, I just, if we do the 2, and like I said, if one's on 8-year-old software and we're on new software, or another year, 9-year-old software differences, and they do, like I said, and they can't work together. I just, you know, the money is at least gonna be there to replace. Like I said, if it's 3 years down the road, it's 3 years down the road, we make the replacement to stagger. I'm perfectly good with that. But if things just don't work or they don't mesh or they don't drive, you got half a project started and you can't finish it until we come up with more money. And I just think it's best to have the money to do the whole project, whether we do it in phases or what. I think it's best to have the money there to do it. And especially if it's potential of non-communicating. And again, I'm not an IT person, but I just know what some of the crap I've dealt with when they've changed things over at our job work, and it never goes well in the first period of time.
I think it's better to give it back so that next year when we're doing the budget, I can give Amy more of a heart attack and put more money to to add to my, what did I do this year? $750,000 to put back as revenue.
No,
I just had to see your face when I said that, you know.
my next request will be for 1.8 million to pay off my other USDA loan.
Oh, Lord. Well, we'll get there when we get there. All right, all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
and Noreen.
Yes.
All right, so that is that. Jason, before we move on, you have
Yep, I got
anything
one more to
else?
make.
We
I
need
gotta move it.
59.
Yep.
The other half of it.
I'll
We need
move,
the second
uh,
entry.
yeah,
Oh, for
I'll move we
God's
approve
sakes.
Transfer request number 59. I'll move transfer request number 59 in the amount of
Huh.
$40,000 from CNR to IT equipment.
There a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion about this most painful process? All right, all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
Noreen.
Yes.
We are now done. Jason, are we done, or do you have something else?
I've got one more, and it's an on-the-fly one, and I apologize for that, but it literally just was brought to my attention at about 11 o'clock this morning. I'm not even sure if Amy's aware of it yet, so I'll kind of provide some color, and then you guys can decide if you think this is meritorious of doing an end-of-year transfer, if we need to figure something else out. But as you know, the soccer fields at Abbey Road are some of the best in the region. And now that we have bathroom facilities there, it opens up more potential for us to host soccer events, you know, tournaments and the like there. But there is it's not on city water, it's on a well system, and the well system has failed or is failing. So it needs to be replaced, and it should be about a $25,000 repair. And in a conversation with Joe, again, late this morning, he said he does not have the money to cover it. So while you guys are transferring things, and because the shower system didn't get funded, it's virtually a wash to do all four servers and the well instead of the mobile shower unit. So I would throw that out there for your consideration. I don't have anything to put in front of you or any spec other than the conversation that I had this morning. Again, I apologize for the lateness of it, but when it came up. So I don't know if that's something you want to act on tonight or not, but I just wanted to make sure that you were all aware of it.
All right, so something, yeah, that to me is really important because I think those soccer fields are one of our shining stars for our town. I think that whole area, that complex there is a shining star for our town. Spent many a year there. But I don't know, Amy, is that something you think we should do tonight, or do you feel that something like that is doable from another area? What's your opinion, ma'am?
Well, I think we should probably do it tonight. And it could come from the health and life insurance. So, but it could go into just operations. Do you think Joe could get it done in the next 2 weeks? Or at least get,
I'm not sure. It depends on the availability of the well guy. It depends on any materials they need to get. As you all know, sourcing material right now is tough. So I don't know if he could get it done or even instituted in June, but if you got the money in the operating budget for us and that was the instruction, then I would get him working on that right away, at least getting a purchase order in place.
Jason, so he gave you the $25,000 number just based on his knowledge, right? Just what he knows would be.
I don't know if he has a quote or not, but he didn't provide anything to me other than to say with a look of concern on his face, he needs $25,000 to fix it.
Yeah.
I can't substantiate that. That I'm passing that on secondhand. But he has a pretty well-established track record of what he's doing.
Yeah. What does everybody else think?
No, I mean, it's, we didn't do the showers. There's 25 that Amy had there. I mean, we can put it in. I mean, if he starts the project, if he makes a phone call and makes a mark on the ground, does that count for this year or does it count for next year?
Yeah, if he signs somebody up as a contract, I can encumber it and use this year's money.
Would that be the way? you
Without
wanna
sending
go,
it to
Jason, or you wanna
CNR?
Put it to next year. Ideas?
To me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you send it to CNR, clearly it gives them a little more breathing room if they can't next 2 weeks. But then we would need 2 entries, just like we did the last time, from the health insurance to the CIP allocation, and then from the CNR to the actual project. And I guess I would do probably Public Works grounds
Okay,
as a place that, because it's an outside thing.
okay. So I will make a motion for transfer request number 60 in the amount of $25,000 from health and life insurance to CIP allocation.
All right, is there a second?
Tom L., I'll second.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
B, Bill, B, I'll be all
Yes.
right, Bill,
Yes,
Noreen.
Yes.
All right, motion clearly passes. All right. So we're done with these guys, but guess what? We have
No.
to
one
do,
more.
We have one
oh, the
more.
second side. Oh my goodness.
I need to make a
Painful,
transfer request
painful.
number 61 in the amount of $25,000 from CIP to Public Works grounds.
Is there a second?
Tom L., I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
Noreen. We're done. It passes. All right, but believe it or not, now we have to go on to transfers 21 to 22. And there's way too many. All right, Aim, what is all
All right,
this? Oh,
so
this
these
is
are
all,
actually next year's transfers.
yes, exactly. Yep.
We've kind of been a little lax in when we've been getting it done. Hasn't come from the CIP committee very early, then it goes to the Board of Selectmen, and then it finally comes to you guys in August or sometimes September. But our people can't spend the money until this transaction's happened. So it really will be happening in June. So that's why I asked for it to happen in June. And then I forgot about it. Jay did it on his June 10th special meeting. And I forgot to include it on the agenda or send it to you guys.
Oh dear.
Doing these transfers, I went, oh, I never did 21-22 CIP. So it's just taking the $920,000 allocation and splitting it out. And as you'll see, we talked a little bit about a couple that had been presented from CIP that are now in here that didn't get funded. They have only funded the recurring stuff. Roads, police vehicles, public works vehicles, everything else basically has been cut out. There's nothing else left because the 920 just isn't enough. So this is all 920 for these 7 things.
Okay. So sad we can't do it as one, but okay, here we go. All right, we need a motion for number 1. And if we do this really like, organized, we will have this done in heartbeats. You ready?
Ready.
All right.
This
It's
is
all,
Bill.
Bill, you make the motions. Let's go.
Approve transfer request number 1 for fiscal year 21-22 in the amount of $125,000 from CIP to police cruisers.
Is there a second?
Tom L., I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes.
Noreen.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 2.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 2 for 21-22 in the amount of $450,000 from CIP to Public Works Roads.
Is there a second?
TL, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
yes,
Noreen.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 3.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 3 for fiscal year 21-22 in the amount of $200,000 from CIP to Public Works vehicles.
Is there a second?
Tom L, I'll second.
Any discussion? Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
yes,
Noreen.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 4.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 4 in the amount of $30,000 from CIP to ITGIS.
Is there a second?
Tom L, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
yes,
Noreen.
Yes.
Motion passes. Onward.
Bill, I move we approve transfer request number 5 for fiscal year 21-22 in the amount of $50,000 from CIP to Public Works Drainage.
All right, second.
Tom L, I'll second.
All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
yes,
Noreen.
Yes.
All right, number 6.
Number 6, this is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 6 in the amount of $40,000 from CIP to Assessor's Reevaluation.
Is there a second?
Tom L, I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
yes,
Noreen.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Number 7.
This is Bill. I move we approve transfer request number 7 for fiscal year 21-22 in the amount of $25,000 from CIP to whatever TP vehicles are.
Is there a second?
Tom L, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those
It's
in
town
favor?
properties and it's the match on a senior bus.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor, Karen, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
yes.
Noreen.
Yes.
Motion passes and hallelujah, we're done with transfers. Now we're on to number 9, new business reconciliation, and this is all you, Amy, if you could update us on where you are with your reconciliations and where the Board of Ed is on in their reconciliations.
Okay, so the town bank balances have been reconciled through May. I have no idea where the Board of Ed is. And the interfunds, the towns are all reconciled and the only thing outstanding is Board of Ed.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Hopefully with Mike's help, they can get themselves done.
Let's hope so. They got 2 weeks. Lord knows they had a year, but whatever. Onward. Unfinished business tax suspense transfer updated.
All right, so you guys did a transfer update to suspense last month. And before she applied it, somebody paid. So now we have a new dollar amount. It went down by about $500. So our new suspense amount is $56,891.05.
Well, it's kind of good that we gained some money. All right, so you need us to make another motion, ma'am?
Yep,
All right,
This is Bill. I move we approve the tax suspense list of $56,891.05.
is there a second?
Tom L.
Oh, all right, Tom L. Any other discussion? All right, those in favor, Karen,
Yes.
Tom L,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom T,
Yes,
and Noreen.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. So now we are on to board member comments. Karen, any comments?
Not tonight.
Tom Lansner, anything?
No.
Kind of funny funny how we're like choosing not to make our comments, but that's okay. Bill Syme, any comments?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next month.
Oh my God, thank goodness. I'm so tired of this computer and this Zoom business. All right, Tom Talamini
No, I'm all set.
and Noreen.
No, I'm good.
All right, I'm gonna be good too. All right, so I am glad we're all gonna see each other in person next month. And the meeting date is July 21st. And Amy, anything else that you can think of off the top of your head?
Nope,
All right.
thank you.
So, yep, we are good. And Jason, good luck. And best wishes and hopefully soon. And
Thank you very much.
all right. And so if we could have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
All right,
second
is
it.
there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor, I'll say your full names now. Karen Christensen,
Yes.
Tom Lansner,
Yes.
Bill Syme,
Yes.
Tom Talamini,
Yes.
Noreen, they didn't give me your last name, Farmer, kidding, just kidding. Noreen Farmer.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. You guys have a great month and be
You as
safe
well.
and be well. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Good night.
Good night.